This is a guide to the marking template for the Year 9 Plymouth Blitz Sources Assessment. On it, students are provided with the marking criteria for the 3 questions that they have answered. Students will be using this template to either self-assess or peer assess each other's work. Under each of the headings and levels provided for each question are the elements that we are looking for as teachers to guide students to be able to award the level that they think is most appropriate for the work that they are marking, and also provide the guidance to explain what students need to do in order to improve. The principal aim behind this assessment and the motives for it are that students will be clearly annotating their own work or their peers' work in order to give clear guidance on how work can be improved in the future. Question number 1. What can you learn from source A about the air raid on Plymouth 20 to 21st of March 1941? This question follows very closely the GCSE model answer of the introductory question on students' exam papers. When confronted by a what can you learn question from a source, be it a picture source or a written source, students are directed to make sure that they demonstrate 2 skills. Comprehension, their ability to lift information from a source, and their ability, secondly, to infer or make an educated guess or an assumption from the source. The inference being the higher order thinking. Therefore, for this question, a level 3 will be awarded for a straightforward piece of comprehension, lifting a simple fact from the text with no additional evidence provided. This will be awarded a level 3. A simple fact lifted or comprehended from the source, provided with some backing up of evidence, will be awarded a level 4. A level 5, however, is providing the comprehension, the evidence, and additionally an inference, something else that can be assumed from the source. Therefore, when students read source A and they identify simple facts, they could go further. So, for example, they could say, for example, that the blitz lasted 4 hours. Yeah, straightforward, level 3. They could then substantiate this with additional information for a level 4, talking about the details of the damage that was done during the raid. The inference for level 5, however, would need them to pass comment on an assumption they can make. For example, the source gives the impression that the emergency services dealt with the air raid effectively and efficiently. It's not said explicitly in the source, but it is an intelligent and accurate assumption that can be drawn from the tone and the language of the source, therefore awarding the level 5 for an inference. In order to refine skills for the subsequent GCSEs that will be studied, the normal model for this answer is to ask for 1 form of comprehension and 2 forms of inference. Question 2. In what ways do sources B and C differ in their accounts of the effects of the March 20th, 21st air raids on the city of Plymouth? The model again is apparent. Simple comprehension for a level 3. Comprehension supported by evidence for a level 4. Comprehension, evidence, and inference for a level 5. For question 2 then, a level 3, simple statements of difference just using the sources as information. For example, source B says that a number of fires were started in the city of Plymouth, whereas source C said that there was a sea of flames over a large area. Source B again says that the raids were on a smaller scale. Source C talks of extremely serious damage. It is basic comparison lifted from the 2 sources, therefore a level 3. Moving on to the higher levels. Develop statements of different using appropriately selected information from the source and inference from the tone of the report. So as for the previous level 3, but implies that source B is playing down the impact of the raid, while source C is emphasizing its effectiveness. Students might also note that the difference between the sources is more of tone than of actual content. Question 3. Is source D or G more useful in understanding the effects of the bombing upon the lives of the people of Plymouth? Now, a useful question, a usefulness question, a utility question needs to be approached in a structured way. Each source should be interrogated for why it is useful and why it isn't useful. Now, this could actually mean that each source requires 2 different paragraphs. Looking at the strengths of source D, the weaknesses of source D, the strengths of source G, the weaknesses of source G, to arrive at a logical and sustained conclusion. Again, the format is similar to what has preceded it. Simple facts, facts plus evidence, fact and inference, fact, inference and reliability for a level 6. Fact, evidence and inference for each source, and reliability assessed for each source to reach a level 7. When completed, students are to take their score, their average score for historical inquiry level, summarize what went well, identify a general comment about how work could be improved, and a general comment upon reflection. Work handed back to your teacher should have clear annotation on your work to explain how each question arrived at the level that you have awarded it and how that answer could be improved in the future.